No. Wait.
Hey there, and welcome to the United States. Yes, this one. This nation ain't that hard to play. It pains me to say this, but if I had to recommend any new players to a nation to learn Warthunder's fundamentals on, it will be the US. The nation is always versatile no matter the situation. They have a large lineup and stabilizers making low tier a lot more forgiving, and the 75mm cannons gives you a very reliable source of damage. These factors are fantastic for a new player who likely has no experience in combined arms warfare, so giving them these crutches will make for a good starting experience. Now you know what I wouldn't recommend a new player do? A few things probably come into mind, like playing Japan and Italy, or dare I say France, but I want to add an option to that list. Don't buy a top tier premium. Don't get me wrong, top tier premiums can help you a lot in grinding a tech tree and you can definitely do good in them. But learning all the functionality of a 21st century MBT like thermals, laser rangefinders, positioning, and how to fight other tanks just unlocks a whole other series of problems a new player has to learn, especially when they're still trying to figure out what button makes a move forward. Except now you're also fighting other players who have been playing the game for years if not decades, all while you're trying to figure out what button does what.
Wait a second, so are you telling me that new players should buy top tier premiums or not?
Well, no. I know it's tempting to skip the grind and become John Warthunder himself, but buying a top tier premium as a low level player is probably the worst thing you can do. Allow me to explain. Now, you see, the reason why I had to mention premiums is because the US sadly falls victim to oversaturation of low-level premium buyers. And because of that, the US suffers from the lowest win rate of all the nations in War Thunder, which makes the nation, at least in its current state, very hard to play and have fun with. So, let's take a look at the Abrams. So when looking at the Abrams, you have to keep something in mind, especially the design philosophy of the Abrams. Like for example, the Leclerc is designed with active protection in mind. What is active protection, you ask? Well, there are two main design philosophies when it comes to an MBT, and as the name suggests, something like the active protection philosophy used to make the Leclerc relies on active measures such as mobility, and using that mobility to avoid getting hit. Meanwhile, the Abrams relies on more passive measures of protection like having thicker armor. So back to War Thunder. How does that relate? Well, the Abrams relies on his armor to not be penetrated, so the tank is designed to not get penetrated but not designed to survive a penetration. But when we look at the weapon system we find in War Thunder, we quickly come to the conclusion that we are indeed not fighting Middle Eastern insurgents armed with RPGs from the 1960s. We are fighting other MBTs firing rounds that can penetrate up to almost a meter of steel. So let's start there. When compared to other tanks of your rank, like the Leopard 2s and T-80s, the Abrams definitely offer a fair amount of protection. However, the Abrams has long since lost its crown as the king of top tier. But even before the introduction of Spallliner and fancy darts, the most reliable way to kill an Abrams is through the turret cheeks, turret ring, and lower front plate, which are massive compared to other tanks of your BR. However, with the introduction of the M1A1HC, the turret cheeks are no longer able to be penetrated. Despite all that, the Abrams isn't the worst thing you'll come across, and you do hold some advantages compared to other nations, with the biggest thing being the thermals. Unlike the Germans, starting from the M1A1 AIM, you receive Generation 2 Commanders and Gunners thermals, allowing you to easily detect and identify targets, especially at range. Now you may be asking, what is the difference between all the Abrams variants, and which one is the one for you? Well, let's take a deeper look at that.
As you all may know, there are a whopping 10 different variants of the Abrams present in War Thunder. All of them are pretty much the same with some slight differences. But in general, there are a total of 4 main Abrams variants in game, those being the M1, M1A1, M1A1HC, and the M1A2s. The M1 series consists of the 105mm M1 Abrams, IPM-1, and the M1 KVT, with the difference being the IPM-1 has a better protected turret, as well as the M900 APF SDS round. The M1A1 and M1A1 Heavy Common is the first variant we see armed with the 120mm gun, with the M1A1 Heavy Common having a stronger turret than the base M1A1 as well as an infrared countermeasure system. And lastly, the M1A2s. The M1A2 Abrams is the best of them all, featuring the most well-protected turret and the M829A2 APF STS round, as well as the commander's individual thermal sight. Jeez, that was a mouthful. Oh yeah, I still haven't been fucking paid yet?
Well, thank you for that, Hina. Let's move on. The Abrams, although being a bit sluggish and having some pretty suboptimal protection, still packed a pretty big punch. The M829A1 and A2 especially can penetrate up to 600mm of armor, making it one of the better darts in the game. And especially with the reload buff recently, the Abrams can now get a shot down range every 5 seconds with an aced crew. However, that doesn't mean you should be brawling with the Abrams, because don't forget, no matter which variant you're in, you still have the giant shoot me sign in the form of your lower front plate, which will be an issue until Gaijin adds the M1A2 Set V3, which introduces depleted uranium inserts for the lower front plate.
Wait, so what makes the Abrams so special then?
Well, I'm glad you asked, but to be honest, there really is nothing special about the Abrams, as everything he can do, there are other NATO tanks that can do them better. The only thing you can really say is special about the Abrams is a 1500 horsepower gas turbine engine, but even then, the T-80s also has them.
Well, that was anticlimactic. Anyway...
Wait, actually, there's one thing unique about the Abrams that no other tanks in War Thunder have.
Wait, really? Hurry up and tell us already!
Yep, there's one thing the M1 Abrams has and no other tank has in the game, and that is this cool plastic launch here on the M1A1 clickbait.
Wow, that's fucking lame. That's it, I'm leaving. For fucking real this time!
Ah, shit, not again. Anyways, let's wrap up here. As much as the Abrams is known and loved in War Thunder, it's really not as good as all the hype makes it out to be. Everything you can do, other MBTs can do better. So how should you play the M1 Abrams? Well, there's only really one way to play the Abrams. Play it as a frontline support tank. You have enough armor to resist some shots, but at the same time, you lack the whole armor a frontline tank requires to brawl. So the best way to utilize the Abrams is to sit behind your better armored teammates and support them in not getting pushed back. Unless you want to end up like this level 10 that just bought the M1A1 clickbait, then be my guest.